Well, this is a bit different. Yes, it's an air rifle video, but I don't normally do air rifle videos quite like this. Most of my air rifles are very old, quite often in a very poor state and requiring restoration. This is a brand new Reximex air rifle. Reximex are a Turkish company, and this one I pre-ordered this beginning of September, and it's now the 1st of December, so it's taken a little while to arrive. So let's get the box open and have a look inside. And that's exactly what is inside the box. I think the Turkish have got a lot to learn from the Chinese about packing things in cardboard boxes, but hopefully it's not damaged. There's a small box of fittings, you've got an instruction booklet, and obviously you've got the rifle. So let's get it out of the box and have a much closer look at it. Well, there you go, that's what's inside the box, or at least that's what's inside my box. Now, a little bit of background on this air rifle. It's a first for me. This is a PCP, pre-charged pneumatic air rifle. This is the very first one that I've owned. I have shot several different versions of PCP air rifles, and they're very nice. I've got nothing against them at all, but I actually prefer, as you know, older air rifles, particularly single stroke pneumatics and the recoilless springers. But as you also know, I've got a thing about lever action rifles. So what is this? Right, this is the new Reximex lever. Now some people pronounce it Lieva. It's L-E-I-V-A, I think, spelt. But most of the people on YouTube are pronouncing it as Lieva, so that's what I'm going to pronounce it as. This is the 177 caliber version. It comes in 3 different calibers: 177, 22, and 25. Now, as I said, this is my first PCP, but I have shot them before, so I'm not completely, new to these, but it was the lever action thing. There are very few lever action PCP air rifles. There is at least 2 others that I know of, and one of them I've shot, and that's what put me on to getting one of these. But let's have a close look at this first. We'll go over what you get in the accessories box first, because then we can concentrate on the rifle. So you get 2 standard Reximex magazines. These are 14 shot. I believe it's 12 shot for the 22. I'm not sure what the 25 is. You get a quick fill probe adapter. This is a single shot tray, so if you just want to use it in single shot mode you can. Variety of little Allen keys, quick fill probe adapter, and I have no idea what this is. A little tiny bomb shaped piece of plastic, which I'm sure I will find out when I read the instructions. But that's what you get in the box. You also get the owner's manual, a target, 2 targets in fact, right, and a report card. So it's a nice selection of accessories with it. We're going to go down the gun, have a look at it. Very, very nice Turkish walnut stock. Nice finish on that. Obviously there is some leather or faux leather binding on the lever, which is a nice touch. There is a crossbolt safety on the trigger. Well, you can see that. I'll bring a bit more light in on the subject, but I'll zoom in on that for you. Standard push-pull safety button. Push it from the other side. Oh, and it pops out like that, which is and as you can see, that's the red, that's the fire position, and that's the safe position. All metal receiver, where you can see the magazine slot with the bolt in position. I want to talk a bit about the magazine because the instruction manual is very misleading on the magazine, so we'll talk about that in detail a bit later. Nice Turkish walnut forestock, and there we go. Got the barrel and air cylinder. Before we have a look down the other side, you probably have already noticed this, but this is the barrel, the bit at the bottom, and this is the air cylinder. And I think that's what they've done there is very, very good. Obviously on a conventional lever action firearm, this would be the magazine tube and this would be the barrel. But the interesting part about it is that if you look on any lever action, particularly Winchester type lever action rifles, the magazine tube is always smaller than the barrel. So although there's considerable difference between these two. It still makes it look right. It looks like a conventional lever action rifle, which is you know, fantastic in my opinion. There's obviously, that's where the fill probe goes in, and on the end of here you have a pressure gauge. I'll come around the front, you can have a look. Well, here's the front with the pressure gauge, which reads in bar, and this is obviously the barrel here, and it's got a threaded cover here, which you simply unscrew, and that allows you to screw on a silencer. I think this is standard thread for airgun silencers. So PCP air rifles do tend to be rather loud, so I would imagine that it would be rather necessary to have a small silencer on there. But then of course the problem is it's going to make it look wrong, because the barrel's going to stick out beyond the end of the air cylinder. But there you go. We're on the other side now, and I will say that the stock is a little rough in places. The odd spot which hasn't been sanded quite properly smooth, it's a little rough to the feel, so not the best finished stock. The wood's nice, but it's definitely not the best finished stock that I've come across. So let's have a look. So this is the other side. On the receiver on this side you've got a very nice logo of a cowboy on a horse in full flight with the name Lieva. That was actually quite nice. The receiver is nice, very nicely finished, sort of matte black finish on the receiver, very nice indeed. And you can see the magazine slot there, and then there's the full stock. Again, not the best of finishes on the forestock. It's a bit rough in places, but I guess again, you know, this is all subjective, isn't it? You know, this technically is a budget airgun. If you want to buy one of these today, it costs you £399, which rather sounds like a lot of money, and it is. But in PCP air rifle terms, that's not a lot of money at all. PCP air rifles can go for thousands of pounds. So there we go. So that's a close look at it. So the next thing is to show you the action, and I'll let you know my thoughts on that. So weight wise, it's quite a nice gun to hold. It's not too heavy. The whole stock here where you hold it, very nice. Full stock's nice as well. Like I said, there's a little bit rough. There are not unsanded patches down at this end of the stock and at certain points on here which have not been finished properly, but overall it's quite nice. So cocking action is standard lever cocking action, and that is very easy. If anything, the lever's a little bit wobbly. I don't know whether there's anything we can do about that. That's actually quite loose and does move from side to side a lot. So yeah, I'm going to dry fire it, and you can see how loud it is, which is without a silencer quite loud, obviously. No, the action's nice. I quite like the action. It is nice. So let's put the safety on and do the same thing again. And it locks the trigger, which makes sense because the push-pull safety is actually on the trigger. With regards to sights, it comes with this very simple buckhorn rear sight, which appears to be adjustable for elevation but not windage. And we'll have a look at the front sight. The front sight is a fairly simple, rather tall blade, which is obviously part of this band here which goes around the air cylinder and the barrel. The receiver does have an 11mm rail on it, so dovetail rail, so you could obviously fit any kind of sight that you like to it, although why the hell you would want to fit a scope to a lever action rifle is beyond me, but some people do. But you could certainly remove this sight that it comes with and put a much better buckhorn sight with elevation and windage adjustment on, which is probably what I will do. Here's something I want to address immediately. I've been looking through the instructions, and this page on the loading of the magazine is very definitely wrong. It clearly says here, once we have the magazine fully loaded, we move the loading lever to its most forward position. The loading needle moves back so that we can insert or remove the magazine from the right side. Then we move the lever to its initial position and we will have the first pellet ready to be fired. And it clearly shows you putting the magazine in from the right side. This is not correct. The magazine goes in from the left side of the rifle, not the right side. So it's fairly obvious when you look at the magazine. I'll get one. When you look at the magazine, so the magazine has this raised edge on it, and this raised edge locates in a groove in the receiver where the magazine fits, and this raised edge has got this end stop on it, and this is designed to stop the magazine from going all the way through. Now obviously if you try and fit this from the right, then that's going to stop you from fitting it basically. So it doesn't fit the way it shows you in this image in the instruction manual. So I will show you how it fits. The first thing you have to do is open the lever, obviously to pull the bolt back. You're never going to get a magazine with the bolt in there. Now hopefully you can see this locating groove here. This is the locating groove for the magazine. Let me put this on there so you can see it. That groove takes that raised edge. Okay, so we'll put the magazine in. You can see what it looks like, and bear in mind obviously this is the left side of the rifle, not the right side. One other thing to note is that when the magazine is empty, you can load it into the air rifle, but you can't close the loading lever as far as I can tell, because this is in the way. Now when there are pellets in this, there will be a pellet in that window, but there isn't, and that will block the bolt. Okay, so basically what happens is this simply goes in like this. Let's get it located. There we go, like that. Now that's not fully in place. I'm going to have to move the gun up because it's got to go all the way through. Now, I put this on an angle so you can see. So this has got to go through quite a bit further. So you press it, right. Now that is in the right position. That is the magazine loaded. If I turn it over, you can see that it sticks out the other side. Okay, but obviously it goes in from the left side of the gun and not the right side as it says in the instructions. Now I can't close this lever, as I said, because there are no pellets in this, and then there's a ball bearing detent on a spring which locks that in place, and then to remove it you just press it and oh, there we go, pop it out like that. So as I said, be warned about that, because that's not what it tells you to do in the instruction manual. I just thought I'd show you quickly the magazine loading, because I'm not familiar with Reximex magazines. I've never shot a Reximex air rifle before, so I had to do the usual YouTube thingy and found a nice video where the guy very clearly shows you how to load the magazines. So this is this is one of the magazines. Okay, so basically what you do is there is an arrow on here, and you push the clear plastic tray, and this is sprung loaded, so it's going against a spring, and you push this around, okay, until it locks there. Oops. Oop, well, it should lock. Anyway, the spring's quite strong on this one. So, and obviously that leaves you a clear hole for dropping a pellet in, but that pellet will drop straight through, so put your finger over the end of it, over the other side of the hole. Now again, I'm not sure whether I'm doing this right, but this works for me. And then you rotate that clear lid round until the next magazine slot appears, and then the next magazine slot appears, and you just keep going until you filled the magazine up. Like so. I'm going to keep going and finish that off camera. There you've got the full finished magazine ready to go in the gun. Well, that'll be it, I think, for the overview. I think all we've got left to do is do some shooting with it. Now, this is a very powerful air rifle. PCP air rifles tend to be up around the legal limit, which is just under 12 foot-pounds. As I said, the calibre on this one is 177, and the maximum fill pressure for the cylinder, air cylinder on this is 250 bar. So you'll go, those who are unfamiliar with PCP air rifles, you require some method of filling it. There are basically 3 different methods. There's a hand pump, which is very hard work, trust me, because I've tried it. There is fill bottle, which is basically a diver's bottle full of compressed air, which you can then use to fill the cylinder in the air rifle. Or probably the most common method, certainly in this country, is a compressor, which is what I've got, and that will pump it up to the required pressure. Takes about 10 minutes, something like that, if that. So yeah, I don't think there's much else to say about it. I'm very impressed. Obviously I haven't shot this thing yet. I've just been showing you around the gun. I only got it this morning and telling you how I feel about it, and it's very nice to hold, and I think it will be very nice to shoot. As I said, there are a few, you know, quibbles that the woodwork is not finished so well, and there's quite a lot of wobble on the cocking lever. So yeah, but other than that, no, I think it's great. So we'll get it loaded up and do some shooting with it. Well, here's the results. Now, obviously this is the first time I've shot this. I've literally only put 28 pellets through it. And I did adjust the rear sight for elevation because it was shooting low and to the left. According to the instruction booklet, you can adjust the front blade sight by rotating it, but it's very limited on how much you can turn that. So, yeah. But I'm not too unhappy with that. I was shooting, as you saw, freestanding. And yeah, that's not a bad grouping. Now, of course, my 8.5 meter range is not even remotely taxing for this rifle. This is a near max power air rifle, so it's up around 12 foot-pounds, and 8.5 meters is nothing. I'll be able to do a much better review of this once I can get it out over my friend's 25-yard range, and then we can see what it'll do. But no, I'm not too unhappy about that grouping, considering it's the first time I've shot the thing. For those interested, the pellets I was using are QYS domed, and I love these pellets. They're some of the cleanest, nicest pellets that I've actually been able to find. Well, that'll about wrap it up for the Reximex lever for now. Obviously, I've hardly shot this thing at all, and I'll probably revisit it some point in the future when I put a few hundred pellets through it, so I've got a better feel of the gun. Overall, no, I think it's excellent bit of kit for the money. Of course, I know it sounds like a lot of money, but in PCP air rifle terms, this is a budget air rifle. Now, I did say to you earlier that there were a couple of other lever action PCP air rifles out there. One of them I've been very lucky to shoot, and that is the Parker Hale Phoenix. Now, if you've ever get the chance to shoot a Parker Hale Phoenix, do so. It is a phenomenal air rifle, and it's one of the best PCP air rifles I've ever shot. But it is also lever action. And of course, in its day, it costs a lot more than the Reximex lever. So you could say unfair to do a comparison between the two, but it is one I've shot. The other one is the Lobo Mustang, which people in the air rifle world have no doubt heard of, which is very similar. In fact, I'm fairly certain that the lever here is a copy of the Lobo Mustang. However, the Mustang is nearly 3 times the price of this air rifle. So, you know, I've never seen one, never actually held one in my hands. I've seen videos and they are nice, but what the comparison between the two is, I obviously don't know. But my initial impressions of this, as it's a brand new air rifle, very nice. I've got a few niggles, as I said. The finish on the wood is not quite as good as it could be, and there's quite a lot of slop in the lever. You know, as I said, that moves from side to side, but I think I can shim that out to improve that. But other than that, no, it's a very, very nice rifle, and lever action rifles are just so much fun. Okay, right, as I said, that'll about wrap it up. So as always, hope you've enjoyed the video and thanks very much for watching. Cheers.